For every movie we see on the big screen, there's usually a slew of failures that never made it past production. Number 1. If you were a kid in the 90s, you'll recognize our first failed sequel on this list. You might even recognize a familiar set of cave people. But now we're getting ahead of ourselves. Antz 2 was going to be a sequel to the 1998 classic Antz. You know, the bug movie you watched and thought it was just a little too close to a bug's life? Yeah, that one.
Haven't I seen you somewhere before?
Well, maybe, and...
That's one of the reasons it was canceled, actually. Dreamworks closing its TV animation unit mixed with worries that the original Antz was too close a ripoff to A Bug's Life made the sequel tank before it took off. And it's a good thing, because allegations against the movie's main voice actor Woody Allen wouldn't have helped its success. Number 2. For fans of the original B movie, this sequel would have been a dream. But it was never even announced to the production company. During a Reddit Q&A session in 2016, Jerry Seinfeld was asked if he'd consider making a sequel as Barry the Bee. He responded that he had thought about it pretty briefly, and even though he recognized the fans' energy behind the idea, he feared it would make the original less iconic. And so we never got to see how a relationship between a human woman and a bee would have worked out. Number 3. This failed sequel might not surprise you. As Road to El Dorado was in the works in 2000, there was already a plan for a sequel. Fans of the movie can say the movie's attempt at a good old-fashioned search for gold could have been, well, golden as a plot premise. But after the first movie bombed at the box office and made DreamWorks lose millions, the sequel was scrapped before production began.
Excuse us. Okay.
Number 4. This story about a herd of elephants meeting all sorts of danger while traveling across Asia would have been DreamWorks' third computer-animated project after Antz and Shrek. It was announced in 1998, but never made it to production because the development of Shrek as a series of movies and Madagascar's debut production took first priority for DreamWorks. It's a shame because Morgan Freeman was set to voice the main character in Tusker. Morgan Freeman as an elephant just sounds like it would have worked. Number 5. We imagine Boo was going to be a mix of Men in Black and Ghostbusters in an animated version. But we'll never know because this movie never got released. It was about ghosts joining an afterlife counter-haunting unit set to release in 2015. It could have had a solid chance given the all-star voice cast, including Bill Murray, Seth Rogen, and Jennifer Coolidge. In the end, the movie release was delayed to avoid competing with the release of Inside Out. As far as we know, there's been no news of Boo since 2018.
That's what I do now. I'm a Boo Cadet.
Number 6. This one you might recognize from a movie that was actually made later on. In 2005, DreamWorks had a stop-motion animation project in the works with Aardman Animation called Crood Awakening. It was going to be an adaptation of a book called The Twits, set in prehistoric times. Sound familiar? Yeah, DreamWorks and Aardman Animation both made their own version after the first was canceled. DreamWorks made The Croods and Aardman Animation made Early Man. So I guess the idea wasn't entirely scrapped. Number 7. If you've never heard of a bilby, which is a rabbit-like animal from Australia, you're probably not alone. This musical comedy about a little bilby coming out from its hole for the first time in Australia was canceled in 2017 when DreamWorks merged with Universal. The character assets did see the light of day, though, when they were used in a 2018 short film on Vimeo. Number 8. American Dog was going to be an offbeat movie about a dog actor on a road trip. Until it wasn't. Chris Sanders, known for his role in directing Lilo and Stitch, had disagreements with the production company and the film was canceled.
You're crazy.
Oddly enough, though, the movie was essentially morphed into the idea for Bolt, which came out in 2008.
Danger at every turn. I eat danger for breakfast. You hungry? Starving.
Number 9. In 2010, DreamWorks had a movie in the works that focused on the fact that all of us have a shadow. Seems likable enough, you'd think. The movie Me and My Shadow never made it past the production phase. Because of too many changes in directors and delayed release dates, the progress of this film fizzled out and it never became anything. The fan base, however, grew impressively, even without a finished product.
Oh, this is it, buddy. It's finally happening. He's changing my life. I mean, his life. He's gonna go skydiving.
Number 10. When Big Idea Animation Studios released Jonah, a VeggieTales movie, they had the idea to make the Bob and Larry movie, which was supposed to be released in 2005. But unfortunately, the idea was rejected officially in 2003 for a pretty brutal reason. Big Idea went bankrupt. We later got another similar tale in The Pirates Who Don't Do Anything, a VeggieTales movie. Number 11. Farm animals in an underground punk band? We could go for that. DreamWorks had the rights for a movie adaptation of the book of the same name in 2006. The same director that gave us the Simpsons movie and Monsters, Inc. was set to lead the project, but it never became anything.
Where's the kid?
Kid? What kid?
The latest whispers about it came out in 2020, and it seems the movie is stuck somewhere in the lengthy production process. Whether it's for technical, legal, or other reasons, we're just not sure. Number 12. In 1998, DreamWorks started developing a movie that would have probably turned a few heads. Rockumentary was said to be a mockumentary of the Beatles' rise to fame, except, oh yeah, the characters were going to be an animated penguin rock band. The idea was scrapped at the time, but when Madagascar productions began, the idea was brought back in the form of a penguin tactical unit instead of a band. This was the idea behind the characters that gave us a reference we'll use till we're old and gray. Just smile and wave, boys. Smile and wave. Number 13. This movie about tiny people trying to challenge society's beliefs was in the works as an adaptation of the Terry Pratchett book of the same name. The production process was in and out between 2001 and 2011, but was eventually canceled.
Oh, snap.
Essentially, it became a victim of the devastating 2008 financial crash. The idea was loosely used as the premise of Trolls later on, although we can't exactly see how this turned into that, but anyway.
Cupcake?
Number 14. Guillermo del Toro has become a legend in the movie business, and for good reason. Another one of his projects, Alma, was going to be an animated horror movie when it got picked up by DreamWorks in 2010. But after Rise of the Guardians bombed at the box office, DreamWorks questioned Guillermo del Toro's influence and canceled it. DreamWorks decided to move away from darker themes entirely after that.
You're not still mad about that, are you?
Yes.
Number 15. Stop motion fans beware, this one might crush you. DreamWorks was working with the famous animation studio Aardman Animation on a claymation movie called Tortoise vs. Hare. It was going to be a twist on the classic tale of the tortoise and the hare. Mysteriously, the movie was never made because the artists at Aardman Animation deemed it a mess of a film and essentially unmakeable. Given Aardman Animation's track record with Chicken Run and Wallace and Gromit, this one really could have been something. Number 16. The last one on our list brings us back to 2007, when DreamWorks got the rights to a screenplay about a gullible man who travels through time in a porta-potty. Right off the bat, we're starting to understand why this one didn't make it on the big screen. The same animators of Chicken Little and Open Season were set to work on the movie, which, given the less than impressive box office numbers of those two movies, is probably what flushed this movie's chances right down the toilet.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. You've been a wonderful audience.
Some of these concepts could have been really cool to see on the big screen. Although we've got to admit that we're glad some of these didn't end up being made. What do you think? Let us know in the comments below.